There's this amazing movie, Agora, on the life of Lady Hypatia. Catherine Nixie's book mentions her. Uh, why was she murdered? Was it one of the first cases of witch hunting? Do you think the scientific advancement that was happening until in the world until 500 AD got arrested suddenly with the rise of certain cults, religions, and the world went into a shell for 1,000 years till the Renaissance happened in Europe? So this lady Hypatia was a she lived in Alexandria, ancient Egypt, which was at that time quite Hellenized. So it was under the influence of the Roman and Greek cultures because it was part of the Roman Empire, the nascent Byzantine Empire. So Hypatia lived sometime in the fourth and fifth centuries. She was born sometime in the second half of the fourth century, and I think she died sometime in the early fifth century. So she was a mathematician, she was an astronomer, and she was a philosopher. And she had many loyal pupils. She was renowned as a teacher, as a great teacher, and she did a lot of original work in the field of especially mathematics and astronomy. Her father himself was a mathematician and astronomer, so she did original work in mathematics and astronomy. It has all been lost, but the but commentaries about it still survive, so we know that she had done a great deal of work. At that time, I think she was the uh, foremost mathematician and astronomer of the Western world. So that is how eminent she was, and she was a pagan, which means she her religion was the Roman polytheistic religion, or the Greek polytheistic religion, the pre-Christian religion of the Roman and Greek worlds. So that's what she practiced. That was her religious or cultural background, and this was a time of great strife because it is around this time that Christianity was in the process of being adopted by the Byzantine Empire, right? And there was a great deal of religious strife between the Christians, the polytheists, and the Jews as well. So Alexandria was one of the flashpoints of this crisis. There was a great deal of political intrigue going on between the Roman governor, between the Christian religious uh, leadership, and also between the Jews, and between the polytheists who were the original who practiced the original culture of the region. So Hypatia was basically a target of the Christians because she did not convert to Christianity, and she essentially treated all her pupils the same, whatever background they were from. And she was, I think, she had some political and connection as well. I think the Roman governor or somebody was a pupil of hers, and because of this, the Christians accused her of playing politics and influencing the government in a certain direction. And I think at some point she was accused of witchcraft, and so because of all these things, she became a target of the Christian fanatics. Like I said, Christianity spread in the old world, in the Western world, by violence, by massive violence, shocking brutality. And so they targeted her, and in the year 415, I think, she was dragged out of her carriage, and she was murdered in the most horrific manner by a Christian mob. So it could be considered to be one of the first cases of witch hunting. Witch hunting doesn't mean a person is a witch. It means that this person is targeted for elimination or for persecution because of their religious beliefs, which don't align with Christianity. So this is one of the one could say first one of the first recorded examples of a person being targeted by Christians for not practicing Christianity. So yes, so about the second question, the scientific advancement that was happening in the world until this time, because of people like Hypatia and other scholars and philosophers and scientists and mathematicians, astronomers, all this was suddenly arrested with the spread of Christianity. They went after all old knowledge because it was dangerous for them. They wanted their new set of laws and rules and their new book to become the only authority in the world. So they went after all old knowledge. The old knowledge was in the fields of medicine, in the fields of science, astronomy, mathematics, philosophy. All of that was targeted, people like Hypatia were prime targets. First of all, she was a woman, and secondly, she was a torchbearer of the old culture. So Christianity also, the old Christians, the early Christians, they were all patriarchal. That is where this anger against the patriarchy is. That's why it is so great in the Western world, because their own history is full of misogyny and the targeting of women. So that's what happened. Hypatia was killed. Others like her were persecuted. They had to run off from Alexandria, and they were essentially basically eliminated from the entire Christian world. And that's why uh, there was this 1,000 years called the Dark Ages, in which there was no progress in science. Whatever scientific advancements had happened until that time were all wiped out. The memory was lost. All the works were destroyed. They were burned. Libraries were burned. And that's how the European world, the Western world, went into 1,000 years, a millennium of the Dark Ages, where it was steeped in superstition and backwardness, and there was no progress at all. So it is the rise of Christianity that coincided with this darkening age that Catherine Nixie speaks about. So these are facts that are not really well known, and I think we need to discuss them more, because this helps us understand how the world evolved, and these are some of the forces that are still seeking to shape and mold the world, especially now in the East. So Christianity is basically very much on the decline in the West, and the West has essentially, the Western society is right now kind of lost. They have lost their moorings. It was Christianity that was their ideological and moral anchor point for about 1,500 years. Now they are in the process of rejecting it. Right, it's well known. Many Europeans and Westerners are now calling themselves atheists because they reject Christianity. And so it is being replaced by this new ideology right now, the so-called woke religion. So that's why we see so many confused people in the West right now. So Christianity is now trying to spread eastwards because it needs to stay alive, it needs to survive. So we need to understand how it spreads by studying its history, which is very well documented, so we can get an idea of the dynamics and mechanics of this of how it spreads.